What if the next medical breakthrough could change thousands of lives? Welcome to Moving Medicine Forward, the podcast that pulls back the curtain on groundbreaking healthcare innovations. I'm your host, Jeremy Schrand, and together with CTI's leading experts, we explore the cutting edge of clinical research transforming patient care. Each episode, we dive deep into the stories behind medical advancements, featuring insights from global therapeutic experts who are literally changing how we understand and treat critical disease. From rare genetic conditions to revolutionary treatment protocols, we're not just discussing research, we're highlighting the human stories driving medical progress. On today's episode of Moving Medicine Forward, our Chief Commercial Officer, Savannah Doliboa, stops by to explain how CTI supports its clients and why they become long-term partners. Welcome to the podcast, Savannah. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So you've been at CTI for over 6 years. What got you to CTI? Give us a little bit about your background and why you decided to join CTI.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I've got a experience across several different types of CROs. Actually started across the river at a company called MedPace, which is a mid-sized organization. Have worked at mid-size, some of the largest CROs in the world. So worked at IQVIA for a period of time. And as I explored different CROs, I always felt like the mid-sized CROs kind of lacked a certain level of stability. Often getting different private equity companies coming in. And I remember one scenario in particular where I worked at a mid-sized organization and I woke up one day and the CEO was completely different. The chief operating officer was leading the organization. And it was my first experience at a mid-sized company where kind of the day prior, it was almost like I worked at a different organization.
Mm-hmm.
Contrast that to a company like IQVIA, and I think that we can all confidently say IQVIA is not going anywhere, right? They're a massive conglomerate of an organization. That said, I was such a small piece to that company, and my ability to make an impact was so much less. So when I found CTI, I really felt like I found the best of both worlds. I had the culture and the teamwork and the collaboration and nimbleness of that mid-sized company, but the stability of a company like IQVIA. So I feel like it really just kind of meshed the best of both worlds. It wasn't a downside that the headquarters happened to be near my family and where I was raised. So it's kind of the stars aligned in an interesting way. And I was able to find a really awesome organization focused in an area that I'm really passionate about, rare disease, and near my family and friends. And ultimately, like I said, kind of the best of both worlds of stability for a large company, but also the nimbleness of a mid-sized CRO.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Focus in on rare disease and some of the trials you work with. What's one of the most rewarding parts about working with the sponsors that are handling those clinical trials?
It's always different working with a rare disease sponsor. And I've wondered kind of what are those aspects that makes it so much different. I think one of the components is they're so closely tied to the patient community. When you're running a rare disease trial, you're often interacting with the patient advocacy groups. It's not unusual that they've spoken with family members. And if you think about being a parent or a loved one of someone that's diagnosed with a rare disease, a lot of times you go to your physician and they tell you there's no option.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, your child or your loved one is diagnosed, but there is a treatment, or we know very little about this disease. So in the context of that, a lot of these communities have built really strong networks with the patients, with one another. When a treatment option comes, and normally that's in the form of our partners, the biotech companies that are developing these drugs, they're often really closely tied to that community. I was just having a conversation with a sponsor actually just the other week, and they knew down to the individual patient exactly which ones would qualify because the parents are desperately waiting for this treatment to be available for their patient.
That's really, really, really rewarding. Who are CTI's clients and why did they choose CTI?
So we work predominantly with biotech companies, but that said, we are working with some of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world and some companies where it's only kind of what we say, a few individuals and an idea, so to speak. I think the thread, if you look across our experience, isn't necessarily size driven. Granted, like I said, most of our companies are biotech, but the thread that kind of ties all of them together is the type of work that they're doing. So most of our partners or biotech or pharmaceutical companies are working in really innovative parts of research, often a rare disease population or some level of complexity, whether that be the modality, cell and gene therapy or something to the like, or the fact that the patients are hard to find, hard to diagnose, et cetera.
And what would be your best guess of why they choose CTI?
I think it comes down to some of the things we talked about just relative to why I chose CTI.
Yeah.
I think they're looking for a partner that is working in a similar area of expertise as them. They're looking for someone that's going to be nimble. But like I said, a lot of these programs are really complex. It's not unusual that you get protocol amendments or you need to change your country strategy or where you're going to go. And so they're wanting a partner that's going to be nimble and flexible like they are as they try to navigate those challenges. They certainly want stability both in the company but also in the team members that are assigned to the project. One of the challenges I think our industry has faced pretty significantly has been turnover of team members. CTI has been really good at hiring talented people, which is important, but even better at retaining those individuals, which I would argue is equally, if not more important than hiring the talent. So that stability of saying, I'm going to run a really complex trial, but I'm also going to work with a partner that I have a high level of confidence that the people that are learning my study know the ins and outs are going to stick with the program.
How is CTI's agility and being able to be nimble help meet the client's needs?
I think there's a lot that is unknown about a general landscape. Like just as an example, right now, I think the thing that you'll see in the headlines a lot is the FDA or challenges that the folks are seeing or uncertainty there. We've had a lot of clients that have come to us wanting to pivot outside of the U.S. for several reasons. So again, that ability to have a partner that's going to sit there and understand what is a specific challenge, whether that's, again, a macro environment or something going on in the overall landscape, or something specific to their project, whether that be CMC challenges or things to the like. So our ability, like I said, to not only be a part of the dialogue, but also be a part of the solution is what they're really looking for.
Yeah. What trends in clinical research industry are creating new opportunities for CTI and our clients?
I think if you look around, I think AI and certainly the desire to limit the burden of trials has been at the forefront of most of our minds. I think if you think about rare disease overall, the patient burden is a really important aspect of that. So how are we minimizing the patient burden? We want to make sure that we're meeting the patients where they are, that we're not asking them to come into the research, if that concept makes sense. Anything that you can do that accelerates clinical research is ultimately going to help the broader picture. So if we can do trials that are shorter, if we can find surrogate endpoint that is going to reduce the duration of how long someone has to be in the trial for us to read out whether it's effective or efficacious or not, that's certainly going to drive innovation. It's going to make the access of ultimately what we're trying to do more feasible. At the end of the day, we do research to bring approved drugs to the market. Anything that we can do that accelerates that, whether that be finding the patients in innovative ways or finding surrogate endpoints that can reduce the duration, that's ultimately going to drive a lot of innovation and efficiency within our macro environment or organization.
How does CTI's global growth strategy reflect our mission to go where our clients need us the most?
I think that's a really good question. If you look across CTI's portfolio of who we work with, I think one of the really strong themes is how much repeat business that we have. We've always, for better or worse, felt like if we do really, really strong delivery with the clients that we're working with today, good things are going to happen for them, but also good things are going to happen for our organization. So if you look across our portfolio, over 95% of our clients that work with us choose to work with us on another project. I think there's several things that come down to that. Like I just mentioned, the delivery is part of that, but also how broad our services are is a significant component of that as well. So we're able to support clients not only in the beginning planning stages of clinical research, but also as they get to post-marketing approvals, trying to understand what assays they need as part of their laboratory strategy. So again, our expansion of our services over time, it's really led to where we are a one-stop shop for anything that someone might need in the clinical services business.
From a commercial perspective, where do you see CTI headed in the next 3 to 5 years?
Anytime I get asked the question of where are we going in the next 3 to 5 years, I tend to answer that more in the context of where do we know that we're going to be. I think the reality is there's more innovation in tools like AI that I don't think anyone could predict where's the industry overall, but I think I can say with pretty high level of confidence that we will certainly be on the cutting edge of innovation. We will continue to be bringing life-changing therapies to market, and we're going to continue to do a high-quality level of work with our partners that drives repeat business and builds long-term partnerships.
So we've discussed a lot of different ways that CTI stands out in the CRO industry. Sum it up. Why would a client want to choose to work with CTI?
I think clients want to work with CTI because we're one of the leading CROs in really innovative research. They trust us. They know that we're going to show up every day and have attention on their project and we're going to care. we have the industry-leading repeat business rate. So there's a stability there of not only are they investing in us and we're investing in the partnership, but we're going to stick with that partnership. They're working with us because of our stability of our talented people. We're recruiting the talent, but we're also maintaining it. And ultimately, they're looking for a mid-sized organization that is large enough to where we can go anywhere in the world that they might need us to go, whether that's services or global reach. But we're also going to be the size that we're going to care about their project. That is the unequivocally a commitment that I absolutely can give all of our partners. CTI is going to care about the research that you're doing, and we're going to bring forth a really talented workforce to make sure that we're doing everything to deliver the end goal, which is to bring an approved product to market.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Savannah, for joining us today on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you to Savannah for stopping by today. If you have questions about how you could become a partner with CTI, visit ctifacts.com to learn more. And remember, be sure to rate, review, and share this podcast with your network as we continue to move medicine forward.